Hello, how are you all? Back to today's session in electrochemistry. So far we talked about electrochemical cell, electrolytic cell, and yesterday we were discussing about conductivity cell, and then afterwards molar conductance or molar conductivity at infinite dilution, strong electrolyte, weak electrolyte, all that which we discussed. And before I go ahead, I just want to inform. So once I have a conductivity cell, what is that which I have fixed? The distance between the two electrodes I have fixed. The area of cross section of the two electrodes is fixed. So that means in that conductivity cell, the distance and the area of cross section is fixed. And go back to the Ohm's law, all that, to find out resistance. In that we had made use of the distance and area of cross section in the formula. What is it? The formula that we had used? R equal to rho L by E. Yes. So that means this factor is fixed. In the given electro or conductivity cell is fixed. L by A. And this L by A for the given conductivity cell, there is a different term. Instead of talking about all that, that is called cell constant. Right? Remember that whenever you come across this term cell constant, it means yes, the distance between the electrodes, the area of cross section is fixed. And what is that conductivity that is taking place in this volume of the solution? That of course we understood as molar conductivity. And then of course molar conductivity infinite dilution. And in that construction, like the other space that is given above is for diluting. Right, I told that, so keep that in mind. So once you keep that in mind, what is cell constant, then of course I just want to ask one more. What is that molar conductance if I want to, molar conductivity if I want, what is that formula that we wrote? Lambda m equal to conductivity, and then afterwards we wrote not only that much, L by A. If area of cross section is 1 meter square and distance 1 meter, whatever it is, cell constant. When it is constant means this is unity. So once I know that it is unity, then afterwards molar conductivity is equal to kappa, that is 1 by rho. This you keep in mind. And then we arrived at, for weak electrolytes, molar conductivity at infinite dilution. For strong electrolytes, we had that graph showing where it is going to meet the y-axis, and then after from that we found out what is molar conductivity at infinite dilution, where it cuts the y-axis. All that we understood. Now, for example, for a given concentrated electrolyte, some concentration, I know that value, how much it is, some value or some concentration, molar conductivity I know. And for the same electrolyte I know at infinite dilution. If I take a ratio of these two, that is going to convey something. What will that convey? Suppose the ratio of these two equal to 1. It means something to me. Suppose the ratio of these two is say 0.8. It means something to me. What is that it means? At infinite dilution so much. At a known concentration that much. At a known concentration is that much, that means the given electrolyte has completely dissociated. And all particles are behaving freely at that concentration itself. And even if you go on diluting, there is no much going to be changed, because already it is 1. But at a given temperature, at a given concentration, if it is 0.8 means it is not completely dissociated. Not completely dissociated, we understood in a different way. In thermodynamics, in chemical equilibrium, all that we understood. What is it? I can say it as, somebody is saying alpha. We understood alpha equal to root K by concentration. As you dilute, conductivity increases, all that. So at a given concentration, what is the extent of dissociation? I can find out. So once I know this value and once I know conductivity at a known concentration, then I can arrive at to what extent the given electrolyte has dissociated, and then how much is the electricity flowing, we can find out. This is another advantage of it. So for 1 mark, 2 mark, again questions can come from this also. We learned all that. Now they may ask, to what extent the given electrolyte has dissociated in the given solution at that known concentration. Find this ratio, you get it. Clear? Keep that in mind. So once you keep that in mind, next you have to go ahead. So we know about electrochemical cell, and if I pass electricity through an electrolyte, redox reaction takes place, and what is the resistance offered by the electrolyte, and then from that we understood all this. Now all this that I have understood is no much use for me as of now. Why? The whole purpose of electrolytic cell is pass electricity, bring down electrolysis, get the substances that you want. I don't want all this, but I should know this. Right? It will help later in a different way. So, if I pass electricity, electrochemical change should take place. So that means the given substance undergoes decomposition. Decomposition is the redox reaction, and in that redox reaction, how much amount of the substances I am going to get. That's what I want. Right? So if indirectly from your side, if you want to tell, right, sir, I have sodium chloride, I have electricity, I want sodium and chlorine. All this is understanding. But how much of sodium I get, how much of chlorine I get, how to do that you tell me, right? That will be more meaningful to me. Yes, we'll come to that only. So I have sodium chloride. I want sodium and chlorine from that. Heating will not help. Only electricity will help. Electrochemical change only will help. Like for photochemical changes to take place, light is required. All reactions you want will not take place by only heating. Thermochemical reactions, not all. Like from water, if I want hydrogen and oxygen, no process helps. Only I have to pass electricity, then I get hydrogen and oxygen. Same way from sodium chloride, if I want sodium and chlorine, electricity will help. So now to get sodium and chlorine, what that which I should do? I have solid sodium. Solid sodium will not conduct electricity. Why? I don't know. Somebody said, sir, we want, if electricity is to pass through, the particles must move. So in solid, particles have no motion. So if I have a liquid of it, if I have a solution of it, particles move and electricity will pass through. So if you want sodium and chlorine, I should have liquid sodium chloride or solution of sodium chloride to conduct electricity. Now if I want sodium and chlorine from sodium chloride, one question is, should I prepare a solution of sodium chloride or should I take liquid sodium chloride? Most of you may say liquid sodium chloride, but if you take liquid sodium chloride, the products are different. Why products will be different? Why products will be different if I pass electricity through liquid? No. Sodium chloride solution. If I pass, what will happen? If you take aqueous solution, in the aqueous solution, already there are H plus and OH minus ion in water. Now from sodium chloride that you add, you get sodium ions and chloride ions. So now when you pass electricity, there is a competition, Na plus and H plus to undergo reduction. Same way, to undergo oxidation, Cl minus, OH minus, there is a competition. Fine, in that competition, if Na plus and Cl minus wins, you get your sodium and chlorine separated. But if other ion H plus wins the race, instead of sodium going and getting reduced, H plus goes and gets reduced before that. What is your aim? Your aim is to get sodium and chlorine. What is that which is happening? Hydrogen gets reduced, hydrogen gas gets released. Your sodium will keep waiting for its chance. So same way, Cl minus, OH minus. If Cl minus goes out, fine. If OH minus goes, Cl minus remains. So what is going to remain there now? There is a competition. If you don't want this competition there between the particles that are there in the solution, now take out these two from the competition. If you take out these two from the competition, now you are safe to bring out reduction and oxidation of Na plus and Cl minus and get what is that which you want. So now what I should do to get sodium and chlorine? Not sodium chloride solution. I should take liquid sodium chloride, molten sodium chloride, and that is possible not at room temperature. At a higher temperature we will have. So take sodium chloride, right, cross its melting point, and at that time you pass electricity. How to pass electricity? You need some conductors of electricity. Which are going to be the conductors? Metals. But if you dip a metal, that metal and the sodium ion present, they may get involved in the reaction. So I should insert into the liquid sodium chloride such a conductor of electricity which will not interfere in the reaction or which will not get into some reaction when those two come in contact. So it must be an inert metal, or simple is graphite, no problem. So take graphite or some platinum, highly inert metal, we know. It will not do anything to your Na plus, nothing, no, it will not get involved in the reaction, it will help only for helping to make the electricity pass through that. So take such substances. So take molten sodium chloride. Take molten sodium chloride and pass electricity. Then you will get Na plus. Where Na plus will go? It will go to the cathode. At cathode what will happen? It will accept electron, reduction takes place. You have sodium solid forming. So the sodium that is forming will be on the electrode that is dipped inside. First take out that sodium. At the other end what will happen? Cl minus present. Here reduction has taken place at the other end. This is at anode. At anode always oxidation. Cl minus will lose electrons. Minus electrons. And afterwards you will get chlorine. How Cl2? 2 Cl minus ions will lose 2 electrons and you will get chlorine gas. So at one electrode chlorine gas gets liberated, at the other end sodium gets deposited, you have got your sodium chloride. But if you had done aqueous solution and then afterwards pass electricity, what should have happened? What should have happened is H plus also, as I said, is in the competition. OH minus also are in the competition. So if before Na plus goes to the electrode and accepts electron, H plus will go and accept the electron. Then what will happen? Hydrogen gas gets liberated. Hydrogen gas gets liberated. You wanted sodium, hydrogen gas is getting liberated. But the other side, OH minus ions will undergo oxidation. That means they lose electrons. And the products are oxygen, water, and electrons have come out. Balance the equation. Prajwal, tell me the coefficients here quickly. Yes, 4 OH minus gives 1 O2, 2 H2O. How many electrons have come out? 4 electrons have come out. This is the reaction that has taken place. You wanted sodium, you will not get. You want Cl minus. If Cl minus goes, chlorine goes out, and you are left with what? You are left with Na plus, and afterwards, if Cl minus has gone, you are left with OH minus. How to find out which one will win the race? Our electrode potentials will help. How electrode potentials will help? Na plus, find out its readiness to undergo reduction. We had understood already reduction potential, oxidation potential. Na plus to accept electron, then H plus to accept electron. When you compare, what is that which I find? H plus easily accepts electron, but not Na plus. H plus easily accepts electron and forms H2, Na plus. Why? We know sodium is more metallic than hydrogen. We have all the understanding. The same thing we have in terms of electrode potentials. That will help. Right? Or in a different way if I want to understand. You have got solution of sodium chloride. Na plus and H plus ions are there. Who will go to the cathode first? Na plus. Just compare. H plus ion, very small when compared to Na plus ion. Now there is a call from cathode. One of you come. Who will go first? H plus, very small. Whoever is there in the crowd, it will not matter for that. Right? Even if no space is there, H plus, because of its small size and less mass, right? It will go to the crowd, and then of course Na plus is still starting to go, but H plus has already reached. Understood? If you don't understand the electrode potentials, all that, this is other way to keep in mind. Why H plus will go first? Give a different reason. H plus is small in size, less in mass, easy to get moved from one place to other place. Same way, Cl minus, OH minus. Cl minus, one particle, one unit. OH minus, there is a parivar. OH minus is a parivar. Oxygen, hydrogen, and of course charge. How to understand that? Cl minus, one particle. OH minus, O, H, together, negative charge. In the crowd, who will easily move? Cl minus. If OH minus is to move, it is carrying the luggage. Negative charge is there, no doubt, but only oxygen with a negative charge cannot go. It has to pull that hydrogen and also won't go. Right? If you have one airbag and go, you can very easily go. Instead of airbag, and if you are pulling a trolley for you, with you, can you move? You have to make space and then of course move. If there is one carry bag for you and then of course put on the shoulder and move. Who will move first? Cl minus will move first. If I don't understand where that electrode potential are, this will help me. So, if I pass electricity through solution of sodium chloride, I not get sodium, I get hydrogen going out, and at the other end, chlorine going out. What am I left with? Na plus and OH minus I am left. Indirectly now, right, this we already understood last year in alkali metals. What is that? How to prepare sodium hydroxide. How to prepare sodium hydroxide? Two ways are there. What are the two ways? Take sodium, put in water. What forms is sodium hydroxide, hydrogen goes out. Equation we know. Na plus H2O, NaOH plus H2, fine. But somebody will say, sir, why to prepare sodium and afterwards why to put it in water to get sodium hydroxide? Right? If I want to get sodium, I have to heat to a high temperature my sodium chloride, have its liquid and then get it. But here, you have prepared a sodium chloride aqua solution, pass electricity. So that means you have saved your fuel, you have saved your time. So instead of all that spending on fuel to get sodium and afterwards later add to water, get sodium hydroxide, this is easy. So take aqua solution and conduct electricity. bring out electrolysis, you will be left with sodium hydroxide. Clear? So this you keep in mind. Now the next question is, when I pass electricity through liquid sodium chloride, how much sodium I get? How much chlorine I get? How much sodium I get? How much of chlorine I get? Now tell me how much of electricity you have passed through. If you tell me how much of electricity you have passed through, I will tell how much of sodium you will get. Simply if you ask how much of sodium I get, I don't know how much of electricity you have, how much you have passed through. So if you tell that, I will tell how much of sodium you get. And if you tell how much of sodium you want, then I will tell how much of electricity you have to pass through. Two ways, how much of sodium you will get and how much of sodium you want. That will depend on what, how much of electricity has flown or how much of electricity should go through, which will decide the amount of sodium that is getting liberated or how much of chlorine needs to get liberated. It is in our hand. No. This understanding, again we are late. Somebody has already said, if you pass so much of electricity, you get so much of sodium. If you want so much of sodium, pass that much of electricity. Last year I have already mentioned. Who is that scientist who made us understand this understanding? We know. Faraday has said, if you want so much amount of substance that is to get liberated in an electrode, how much of electricity you have to pass through, or how much of electricity then goes through the electrolyte, how much of metal is going to get liberated, how much of non-metal is going to get liberated. Faraday has already said to us. And that we understand in terms of Faraday's laws. First one is very simple. So, how much amount of substance gets liberated at an electrode depends on how much of electricity is passing through. That means they are proportional. More the amount of electricity that passes through, more the amount of substance that gets liberated. So, how much amount is going to get liberated depends, is proportional to. How it is proportional to? Now, if you pass 1 ampere of voltage for 1 second, that means you have passed 1 Faraday of electricity. 1 ampere for 1 second is 1 Faraday of electricity that has passed through. So, like that, 1 ampere 1 second, 1 ampere 1 second, if you pass for 96,500 seconds, you pass for 96,500 seconds. That is what? 1 ampere 1 second is not 1 Faraday. 1 ampere 1 second is 1 coulomb. 1 ampere 1 second is 1 coulomb. If you pass for 96,500 seconds, how much of electricity that you have passed is? You may say 96,500 coulombs I have passed. Instead of telling 96,500 coulombs I have passed, I will say I have passed 1 Faraday of electricity. 96,500 amperes. If it, right, 1 ampere 1 second is 1 coulomb. 96,500 coulombs is equal to 1 Faraday. So, in that 1 Faraday of electricity that has passed through, there is a different understanding from that. So, when you pass 96,500 coulombs or 96,500 amperes of 1 second each, then afterwards 1 Faraday. What has happened in that? Charge has flown, electrons have flown. How many electrons have flown? 1 mole of electrons have gone. Right, during that time, 1 mole of electrons have gone. Now if you say, no sir, I can't wait for so many seconds to pass 1 mole of electrons. Increase the voltage, no? Who has stopped you? Increase the voltage, right? Instead of 1 ampere, you pass some 200 amperes, 300 amperes. What will happen? The time will reduce, and finally what that which you should do? 1 farad of electricity should go. 1 farad of electricity, if it goes, 1 farad of electricity it goes, there is a definite amount of substance that is going to get liberated. How much amount? If you take sodium chloride, liquid, pass 1 farad of electricity. 1 farad of electricity means I told 1 mole. What your 1 mole of electrons will do? What will your 1 mole of electrons will do when they are passing through liquid sodium chloride? That means 1 mole of electron. You have Na plus. Right? You don't know how many Na plus ions you are having, but 1 mole of electrons have gone through, and your 1 mole of electrons will bring out reduction of how much? 1 mole of electrons will bring out reduction of 1 mole of Na plus ions. So that means you are going to get 1 mole of sodium. If you want to get 1 mole of sodium means how much? In terms of mass, 1 mole of sodium means 23 grams. If you pass 1 farad of electricity, 1 mole of electrons, 1 mole of sodium, that means 23 grams of sodium has got released at the electrode. Which electrode? At cathode. Right? If you say, I don't want 23 grams, no, I want still more, I want 30 grams of sodium. I want 30 grams of sodium. What is that which I should do? Calculate. For 23 grams, 1 mole of electrons, 1 Faraday. For 30 grams, how many Faradays? Right? That problem very easily you can do, solve it. So that means if you want some amount of metal deposited on the electrode, it is in your hand. Pass that much amount of electricity. But if you have passed 1 Faraday, 1 Faraday will give you, don't consider that 1 mole of metal I get. You will not get always. Suppose I have magnesium chloride solution. Each Mg2 plus to become Mg, it needs 2 moles of electrons. 2 moles of electrons. So to get 2 moles of electrons, that means 2 Faradays of electricity should pass through. 2 Faradays of electricity, when it passes through, you get what? 1 mole of magnesium. But if you pass only 1 mole of electrons, 1 Faraday, you will get half the atomic mass of magnesium. Half the atomic mass of magnesium somewhere we understood in a different way. Right? First UPSC class when I took first class for your UPSC, half mass of or half the atomic mass of magnesium, it means something else. What is that? Right. Somebody is saying 1 equivalent weight of metal has come out. Right? So Faraday's first law, depending on the amount of electricity that passes through, amount of substance that gets liberated depends. Higher the amount, more the amount of substance that gets liberated at the electrode. Now, if you pass 1 mole of electrons in all cases, whatever is the electrolyte, if you pass 1 farad of electricity, 1 Faraday, how much of amount of substance is going to get liberated? If it is aluminum, what will happen? If it is aluminum, it needs 3 moles of electrons to give 1 mole of aluminum. But if I pass only 1 farad of electricity, then I will get 1/3 mole of aluminum. What is 1/3 mole of aluminum? What is 1/3 mole of aluminum? Equivalent weight of aluminum. So if I pass same amount of electricity through different electrolytes. If you pass different amounts of, same amount of electricity through different electrolytes, how much amount of element I am going to get deposited or liberated? It is in terms of equivalent weight. For sodium, atomic mass and equivalent mass is one and the same. For magnesium, half of its atomic mass is equal to its equivalent weight. For aluminium, 1/3 of its atomic mass is its equivalent weight. Now, how much amount of substance that you are going to get when you pass the same amount of electricity through different electrolytes? Now we say in terms of equivalent weights. Right? That is second law of electrolysis. That is Faraday's second law of electrolysis. First law, how much amount you pass, how much amount you get. How much amount you want, accordingly pass the amount of electricity. But if you pass same amount of electricity, how much of the element gets liberated at the electrodes? Right? One equivalent weight, constant. That is second law of electrolysis, Faraday's second law. Now question is, how to pass same amount of electricity through different electrolytes? Now you should tell me, should I pass electricity in parallel or in series? That I don't know. Will you make me understand in the next period, or should I say now only? Right? Will you say now only? No, just think and tell me, same amount of electricity at the same time, how to pass through different solutions. Just think, we'll see afterwards.